Greetings all of you that are tuning in, and welcome to another edition of live broadcast here from the great state of Texas here in the United States. Thank you, Diodene. Thank you. This is and good morning. Good morning, and I will be broadcast here. I'll also be broadcast live on my YouTube as well. So either way, you should be able to get me live. Here again, my name is Fonton Daniel, speaking here from the great state of Texas. And I will be speaking with a lot of broad issues, as you see from the outline. Today, you have Emmanuel Macron, you have John Baker, the House of Commons, you have the British Prime Minister, you have the German Chancellor, US President, you have Emmanuel Macron. And we will have a lot of more to talk about, and how Southern Cameroon, now the Ambazonian, has slowly converted to a barbecue house. Is it what was expected of the people of Southern Cameroon? No. Obviously, you will agree with me that the people of Southern Cameroon shouldn't be converted into a barbecue house. This is absolutely an absurd, and that this is the reality. But my question to the rest of the world community and those in Ground Zero, I can assure you that we stand with you together, and together we shall overcome. Thank you, Joel Fongal. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Barrow Emma. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Marvinga. Thank you. Today, let's look at some of what is making news in Southern Cameroon. But however, I want to thank the United States government, because the United States government is doing every effort to ensure that some changes, amicable changes, occur in Southern Cameroon. But are they doing enough? Of course not. But can they do more? Of course, yes. But the focus of these messages and what's going to be taking place today is the Southern Cameroon that has been simply converted into a barbecue house, the Ambazonian. And there is one question that I will ask you. If you are an expert in international jurisdictions, I would like to have you one-on-one speaking on the new ruling that is, or new opinion that is written by the International Court of Justice in Hague. I know it has been written relate to another country. How can it be applicable? Of course, when, let's take, for example, if United States Supreme Court judge wrote an opinion, that opinion is applied to the rest of the state, which means if the opinion of the IJC wrote an opinion, is applicable to some of the nations that are facing similar situations. And that is why I would like some expert that have read it and should contact me. We will dwell more on that opinion that is written by International Court of Justice. And this in relation to another country that have similar case. So there is a lot of problems within the colonial territory that the British government has failed in absolute term. Because of that, and failed to follow up, has created animosity between many nations. So the case of the Southern Cameroon, but I will be coming more on that. And in Nigeria, there is another problem that is going on. The former dictatorship that converted himself to a civilian, Buhari, now in a total mess. What is absolutely wrong with Africa? Well, has Africa educated enough? No, but a certain individuals that is almost 80, 90 years old believe that they have another philosophy to govern the younger people that are mentally stable and objectively. But unfortunately, there is a time Africa needs to let go all these people that are above 80 years of age to be able to rule the younger populations that are still mentally stable. I think there's something wrong here. When retirement has begun, people need to go on their retirement instead of believe that they still have something to offer. Because if you didn't offer during your young generation, you're going to offer when you become old. And so Buhari and is now in the stage of manipulations to convert into whatever they call. And some of these, I don't know if I have some of the video, we will talk more about what is going on in the neighboring country, Nigeria and the Land Republic, and the British manipulations, and more. So anyway, stay tuned, don't go away. This is Funta Daniel, here from the great state of Texas, here in the United States. When you see a great statesman, that is the person that has left a foundation in Africa. J.J. Rawlings. J.J. Rawlings is a key person that one will always remember. That is a J.J. Rawlings. He made a significant difference. But there was one thing that I want to talk about J.J. Rawlings. J.J. Rawlings, I think the wife was in Europe in a medical treatment for the wife. And he was frustrated because the current president of Ghana ignored and even attempt to deprive him of his dignity. And by allowing the current ambassador of Ghana not to recognize his value and his dignity and the memory that he left for African descent. But I will very disturbed that a Ghanaian president will ask this gentleman that his fundamental principle or his value be deprived. But unfortunately, that's the person that gives a significant symbolism for African to rake upon, J.J. Rawlings. And that is him, despite his ability, he is known, he decided to stage and direct a traffic. That's to show the love he has for his country and that he believes that he still has something to offer. And that is why he stood up in a traffic and people were proud to see him. Let's listen a little bit briefly before we proceed what is going to be the story for today. That is J.J. Rawlings. J.J. Rawlings stand to direct traffic. It is quite amazing. That's the former president. That is the former president. He stood up to direct traffic. I mean, it is quite amazing. But however, I just bring this. That was J.J. Rawlings.
It happened today, 20.
Southern Cameroon territory has experienced ongoing murdering and genocide. This murdering is what has become a habitual. Habitual in the sense that La République military has simply converted the Southern Cameroon territory more of a murdering house. And you can see the young population of Southern Cameroon that have been murdering each day is a constant. It's a constant. When you look at the young population, it is more of a hazard living in Southern Cameroon. I don't know how many that have contacted me. Some are living in the forest. Some are seeking asylum somewhere in the neighboring country. Some are just choose to build a hut in a forest just to have his life meat. Not to talk about what they eat actually. And that is what is going on in Southern Cameroon territory. And just listen. Just imagine that this has occurred in Europe. Imagine that one single individual should have occurred in Europe. I mean, the general media all over the planet would have been speaking about the problems. But unfortunately, when it comes in terms of black hegemony, and Africa in particular, it's not of any importance to major nations and major countries in around the world. Of course, you will talk about the European Union, but unfortunately, it's none of their concern so long as Emmanuel Macron, the French president, that controls the entire European, whatever they call the European Union, or the Germans, or the British in particular, because they are the people that brought us into this mess where we have our young population, especially the young males, are constantly murdered each day and brutally. I cannot imagine the pain and the feeling that murder has struggled over their period of time, raise their young men to this, whatever they believe, to assist them in their lifespan. But unfortunately, the invasion of the Southern Cameroon territory by the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon, has caused more havoc to the citizens of the Southern Cameroon territory. Let's look some of these horrific images as shown on this. It is quite terrifying. I will expect that the British government, of course, they'll be issuing condemnations upon condemnations. One will ask, how many of those condemnation has yielded to a fruit. Unfortunately, condemnation doesn't yield to a fruit. We arrived into this point because the British government manipulated and defrauded the people of Southern Cameroon, their pride, their freedom, their heritage, and their value, but simply believe in a French hegemony because they believe that by colliding with French government, create this animosity that our people are experiencing in a lifetime. It is quite painful and worrisome, especially in West Africa. As we speak, one will expect the world community to pay close attention, but unfortunately, it doesn't move to anywhere. And that is why our young children are continuing to become a slaughtering house. And could you imagine that the British Parliament, just imagine that it was a British citizens that would be murdering in this carnivorous behavior. Of course, the entire world would have hold an emergency session within 24 hours. But unfortunately, when it comes to the black race, it doesn't matter to the world. Of course, as many as you can murder, so long as the interest of the French hegemony is satisfied. Of course, the world doesn't care much. But unfortunately, I care because this belongs to my fellow brothers and sisters. Just imagine that a young mother that grew up and struggled with his life and had a child. That child bears a symbolism that at certain point in his or her life, they will grow old. And the time they will need some assistance from the children. But in a moment like this, when you find yourself in this carnivorous state, when your children are being burned alive or killed by a military of a neighboring country, but there is one justification to state that Southern Cameroon belongs to La République because it's the harvesting environment for the French hegemony. And that is why military equipment is sinking to La République as a weapon, including the Chinese authority. And that weapon is simply converted into the Southern Cameroon, where this murdering and slaughtering is the peak of the day is happening. Let's look at some of the horrific images.
January, Ondo Balam. You can see it continue right here.
This image I am about to show, it happened in Balikumbat. It may not be exactly Balikumbat, but it happens in Gokutunja. Remember that before I proceed to that, share informations, make sure you share, make sure you copy and paste, make sure whatever you do, you got to get the information to the right appropriate quarter. I'm also broadcast on my YouTube as well. So in case you are not able to watch, you can also watch on my YouTube. So this broadcast is live on my Facebook and my YouTube. Make sure you share, make sure you like, and make sure you copy and paste. Make sure you email the information so that the appropriate authority must get these information and understand the pain our people of Southern Cameroon are going through. This happened yesterday or 2 days ago. This is an old mother. I don't know the condition that the old mother was going through her life. She may have been in a sick bed, just like anyone may be in a sick bed. In a moment like this, when a mother doesn't have a means of transportation to go to a nearby hospital. She lay on her sick bed. And all of a sudden, the most wicked, brutal military of the neighboring country, La Republic du Cameroon, all of a sudden invaded Southern Cameroon. And these homes is not something that's just happening now. It's a constant behavior of the military of La Republic du Cameroon. When they burnt a home, maybe the home is the last time when his husband or the mother herself has struggled in a period of her lifetime to build this hut, and that she is managing as a place where she will believe that she's going to live. But unfortunately, the neighboring country, La Republic military, in their invasion in Southern Cameroon territory, burned the home, including the woman that is on her sick bed. And I feel this painful feeling. You may not be feeling the pain, but I can assure you that this pain, that an old mother in her sick bed, I may not relate to her, but I feel that we belong to the Southern Cameroon territory. And I become the voice to share to the world community the pain this mother was going through after a burning fire by a foreign nation that had no relationship with us, a cohabiting relationship. Let's listen to how the people describe. You may not be able to understand the voice, but however, I'm going to be posting it for you to listen. Of course, someone must have already posted. Let's take a listening.
So, they came here.
Listen how they describe.
We want our mother inside. All the area is burned. You can see this is the house. I'm inside the house. Is it's one of this mother inside, one of the old mother inside. So you can see the mother that they burned here. You can see the work of La Republic. So you can see it is very, very, very bad. So they decided to bomb places because it was not also easy on their own side. Yeah.
Listening.
People are digging by the grave.
Listening.
Very hard. Yeah. So.
J'ai eu Paul Biya au téléphone avant de venir à Nuit.
So you can watch. Why did we arrive in this place? It's because the British government manipulated the content of the United Nations vote. The content of the United Nations vote specified and giving the Southern Cameroon to be able to live on their own. Why can't they live on their own? That is the obvious 100 questions. Why must the people of Southern Cameroon must live under the umbrella of a foreign nation, La Republic du Cameroon? And that is why I began to expose this to the United States citizens and other international community. Our people, the people of Southern Cameroon, has been deprived of their freedom to self-govern themselves, but superimposed to them the La Republic du Cameroon. And that is why our people, as just shown on those images, has simply converted into a barbecue house. A mother burnt alive, children burnt alive. And what else can I describe? And that is the defraud that the British government imposed upon our people. And now we are suffering the consequence. I will expect the British Parliament, the British House of Commons, the British government should be able to stand and say, I recognize you, that what I did or my ancestors did were wrong. And that we, in the current generation, have unanimously recognized the people of Southern Cameroon. Why must the people of Southern Cameroon must be under the umbrella of the neighboring country, La Republic du Cameroon? That is a million question that remain unanswered. Why? Of course, the people have the right to self-govern themselves. They don't need La Republic on how, on when, and how they should direct themselves. La Republic is a French colony. The people of Southern Cameroon is a British colony. The people do not in any circumstances want to live together with La Republic, and that is obvious question. The people have chosen And how much does it take? Can the British Parliament, can the British Foreign Secretary, can the British Prime Minister move forward? Why would the British choose the French hegemony more than the people indigenous, despite the fact that they have demonstrated their ability that they do not want in any circumstances to merge with La République du Cameroon? Of course, the slaughtering and the murdering and the burning of homes. Obviously, more than 2,000 homes has been burned down in Southern Cameroon by the terrorist military of La République. And yet, the burning continues. I feel the pain. I feel this pain that an old mother in her dream home, it may not be the best home one will expect, but unfortunately, it is her dream home because that is what she or he can afford. And that is why she lay in session in her sick bed, hoping that the Lord Jesus Christ, that created us together in the image of God, and that it is the time of the Jesus has come to call her for her life. But unfortunately, her home was burned down and burned her alive. What a terrific and painful. Well, as we speak, unfortunately, one will expect the British government to immediately and be calling for a session and ask for what they did wrong and how can they ameliorate. It's simple. Recognize them as a distinctive sovereign people, and that is the way to move forward. But unfortunately, they're still romancing. Just imagine that was a British citizen that was burned alive. And that, of course, the British ambassador to the United Nations would have been calling for an immediate 24-hour session to be debated. But unfortunately, since Africa doesn't have any power at the United Nations, it doesn't occur that they can talk about it, neither call an immediate session. And that is why Africa doesn't even have a right to the United Nations. We have a stewardship, who is the United Nations representative. That is there. Unfortunately, no one cares so long as it becomes an Africa. Africa is wordless. Does they care? Because they have no ammunition. They have no weaponry. They have nothing. And we have a deep leadership crisis. Leadership that failed for their own personal stomach. You can imagine this terrorist individual that is in neighboring country La République, and mentally deranged individuals that is in head of called La République. Of course, the interest of France is more important than Africans as a whole. Imagine a single individual that is already at the point of death, Paul Biya. But that is the person the world trusts much because he has the key of the financial aspect that can be transferred to the French treasury. And that is why it is very important that the less world care much about. The European Union, of course, who care? The European Union, so long as the interest of France is more important than the indigenous Africa. And that is why the atrocity continues. Let's look at more what is the story of the day. In this case, that is La République military speaking up about the ongoing, what they have been assigned. That is La République military. This military were trained by the United States. They are also trained by the Israel. One will expect that a disciplined nation will understand that a trained can behave more like a cannibalious. And that is La République military in Southern Cameroon territory. Why would they worry? Because there are Francophones that have been sent to Southern Cameroon to brutalize, murdering our children, burn our mother. He doesn't care since none of their family is being burnt. Of course, it's our brothers, it's our sisters. It's in our territory. Of course, once the Francophone burnt, it doesn't matter to them. But it matters to me because we are related somehow, in some way or the others. our people. And listen to some of the La République military. It is not my messages. They quote that Chadian has been deployed. Chadian is their voice, it's not mine. You may listen to it. They say Chadian truth. That means Chadian. You all remember that in 1961, when the vote was casted at the United Nations, in 1961 to recognize the sovereignty of the people of Southern Cameroon, French previous president collided that all the colonies of the French should not vote for the sovereignty of the people of Southern Cameroon. And they choose and agree. And none of them voted to recognize the independence of the people of Southern Cameroon. And that is why Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has the audacity to go around and tell them and even finance the Chadians so that they can invade Southern Cameroon. And that is what they spoke. If you are not familiar with the video, it's on my Facebook, or I will be posted again if you haven't. They spoke unanimously that the Chadians came to assist them. That is what they said. So our people has become a slaughtering house. That Chadian has been deployed to force our people to merge with the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon. We are living in a very crucial moment that the world turned a blind eye. Just as I take my glasses, I may not see as much as I can. It's how the world has turned a blind eye towards the people of Southern Cameroon. And that is why the murdering continues. Let's take a listen to the La République military describing the situation in Southern Cameroon.
Bonjour, bonjour mes frères. Bonjour.
It is in French. You might not understand. Have someone to listen to explain to you.
Pour annoncer au gars des Ambazoniens. Oui, comme vous voyez, je suis un sergent de l'armée camerounaise.
He is a sergeant of the military of La République du Cameroun. The Amba Boys sont les gars très forts.
Donc les gars qui affrontent, mais ils n'ont pas les matériels.
They don't have material. They do not have material of war.
Je vous jure, si les gars ont les vrais armes, c'est que tous les militaires.
If those guys had military weapons,
Au sud-ouest et au nord-ouest, on va tuer. Parce que les gars ont une tactique, on ne comprend pas.
That those guys have a tactic that they don't understand.
Et je vais vous dire aussi une chose, comme vous me voyez respirer trop fort.
That as you see me breathing rapidly.
Bon, c'est bon, c'est replié. Bon, ce que je veux dire est que l'armée camerounaise a fait appel à l'armée tchadienne de venir au secours. Bon, les militaires tchadiens.
They say they have called the military of Chadian. They have called the military of Chadian to assist them. I mean, they have called the military of Chadian to fight against our people, against our citizens, against our sovereignty, against our own. I mean, it is absolutely painful. And that our people should be fighting this war that should have ended in 1960, shouldn't the British manipulate against our own will. And that is why we come in now to ask the British government, the British Prime Minister. Let's look at... Yes, we are in this mess because the British government manipulates our sovereignty, despite the fact that 64 nations voted overwhelmingly to recognize us in 1961. Today we are not yet free. We're still fighting for a freedom that should have been terminated in 1961. But British bring us into this entire mess that we, our people, now they invited the Chadians to descend upon our mother, and then they've been burnt alive as we watch them dying when it's not their moment. Just imagine it would have been a French citizen that was burnt. Imagine it would have been French citizen that was murdered. Imagine that would have been the story and the emergency session at the United Nations would have occurred. And military preparations would have been ready to whatever nation, the corporate nations. But unfortunately, since we are in Africa, it's none of their nonsense. That is why the Secretary General, who is also a European, is a European. So they control every aspect, and Africa remain the victims. Africa remain the victims. Yes, Africa remain the victims. See, we don't have no say at the United Nations. And they control every aspect. Even the representative of the United Nations in the sub-regional Africa is still a francophone. And we expect a legitimate United Nations to respond appropriately on the crisis that is going in Southern Cameroon. Fellow brothers and sisters, we are at war. The war is deep, but our determination and freedom is on its way. Whether they choose to delay, whether they choose to take action, whatever they do, our people is on its way to freedom. Freedom is we fought for. It's never given. But in a world of manipulations that has changed the course, and that is why our people are being slaughtered, burnt alive. They become the barbecue of the day.
Qu'est-ce qu'ils font? Ils ont aussi ce qu'on appelle les cri-cri. Donc, comme ils affrontent,
they have what they call cri-cri.
Ils affrontent les Ambazoniens pieds nus. Ils n'ont pas de chaussures. Et ils affrontent, on les envoie où il y a vraiment les vrais Ambazoniens. Et on les envoie là-bas. Et ils affrontent ces gens sans chaussures. Ils entrent même dans la brousse. Et ils sont habillés dans les habits militaires camerounais. Donc, ils n'ont pas les habits militaires du Tchad. Donc, je vous passe le message. J'ai une famille Ambazonien, bon, je vous aime. Passez ce message.
You listen, that is La République military speaking.
On the 7th of June this year, the Guardian newspaper ran a special feature on the...
That is a British representative. She spoke several months ago. One will expect the British to come up and stand with their position. Unfortunately, since it's of the black race, and secondly, Africa, does it matter? Can they talk about further? Can they debate upon it? Of course not. So long as the murdering continues in West Africa. That is the British House of Representatives. How much can be expressed that will draw attention of the British Prime Minister? So long as the interest of France is concerned, it's none of their priority. Let's listen to these messages that was spoken several months ago, or a year, if not. And that is a British representative. She described an instances that what happened. It would have been attention to be drawn to the British Parliament, the British House of Lords, the Prime Minister, Theresa May, that there is something wrong here. And it is a mess that was left by the British government, by the previous ancestors, and some are still in currently. It's not just me expressing it. It's not just me. It's what has been spoken about. One will expect Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, the British Parliament, the British House of Lords, the Queen of England, to understand the magnitude. Can you imagine that even La Republic has not even been suspended in the House of whatever they call it. La Republic hasn't been suspended. It should have been suspended right away, because when the people that brought La Republic into what they call the British, it should have been immediately terminated the relationship and tell them that the British is out for business. But unfortunately, they are more interested of the natural and oil gas deal. That is what they're interested in. La Republic will be easier for them to get the gas as they will. so long as the Southern Cameroon have been slaughtering to the greatest number.
Brutal campaign of violence by the regime of Cameroon's President Biya against English-speaking communities in the west of the country, which were formerly known as British Cameroon, communities to whom we owe a historic responsibility.
Absolutely.
They quoted in The Guardian the ordinary men and women who saw their villages attacked by Biya's military, who saw their neighbours and family members killed, and that they were forced to flee for their lives. They quoted the charity workers who were looking after thousands of displaced women and children for whom they warned going home would be suicide. Now, by any normal moral standard, you would expect the UK government to read those reports and be appalled. But not this government. The very next day, after that report was published, the British Trade Secretary announced a £1.5 billion deal with a British national gas company and President Biya's regime. A deal which, in the words of the Trade Department's press release, will, quote, generate a huge stream of revenue for Cameroon's public treasury. In other words, we have a regime.
If you look at when this speech was being made, you will realize that the entire house, the entire was empty. It was empty because what she is speaking is against the will of the British. So long as their gas, their natural gas is concerned, they are more interested in natural gas exploitation. And that is why when she spoke, everyone left the house and it was just few of them sitting. Just imagine that it was a British concern. If it was to vote for the natural gas, everyone would have been seated and debate on the gas, rather than when someone abstained herself and spoke the truth and everyone escaped and allowed the empty home. Just imagine that everyone escaped because she is speaking the right thing. She is doing justice, veracity. She's speaking the veracity. Yes. And that is why only very few were in and everyone escaped when it comes to debate about issues that concern Africa. Let's take a look. Let's Google when it concerned the British. Let's take a look.
Turning to Brexit, Mr. Speaker, I want to pay tribute to my right honourable friends, the members.
As you watch, this is Theresa May address the House of Commons. You see that it was full. It was full because it comes to the concern of the British. It was full. But when it comes to their colonial territory, Everyone is empty because that is not their priority. Because it doesn't want them to come and listen when it comes to Africa, when it comes to their colonial territory. So long as it's against the will of what they have implemented in the colonial territory. But when it comes to their personal issues, everyone will be in attendance. Every single chair will be full to the highest capacity, and some will be standing. But when it comes to the issues that are affecting the colonial territory, of course, it's none of their business. And that is why you can see that it's empty. You can see. Now you compare the differences. Everyone is empty. Only single one person is addressing. And it's just like an abandoned football field. An abandoned football match that all the spectators has abandoned it. And everyone left. Because they are speaking about the colonial territory. Imagine it would have been a gas deal, it would have been full. Everyone would have been in attendance. You know? Listen.
We do not agree about the best way of delivering our shared commitment to honour the result of the referendum, but I want to recognise the work of the former Secretary of State for exiting the European Union, for the work he did to establish a new department and steer through.
They are talking about the exit in the European Parliament because it concerns the British, and that is why the turnout is massive. It's massive. The turnout is massive. How to exit the European Parliament? Why then can the people of Southern Cameroon exit La République? Why? Why can the people of Southern Cameroon exit La République? Why must they be at the mercy of La République? Why? Does it mean that they are not educated? Does it mean that they don't have intelligence? Does it mean that they can't govern themselves? Why must the Southern Cameroon remain at the mercy of La République? That is a 1 million question that we keep on asking. Why must they live at the mercy of La République? Of course, you did the math. So long as the interest of Great Britain, so long as the interest of France is concerned, it's none of their business. But it comes to self-determination that the colonial territory has a self. Of course, no single gun was fired when the British chose to exit the European Union. It was a gentleman relationship. And it was a debate. Why can't the people of Southern Cameroon debate? Instead, they met with the fierce weaponry of La République. And that has been said by the Chinese government and the French. And that is why our people, our mothers, are now going through a forceful life of burnt like a barbecue.
The issue on the Anglophone piece, I won't go into detail on that. I think
I am bringing this.
Doing a very good job of explaining the history.
I am bringing this attention about the United States because that is the commander of AFRICOM. That's the United States commander in West Africa. That's the US commander in West Africa. But the obvious question is, why can't the people of Southern Cameroon govern themselves? Why can't they govern themselves? Why must La République detect on what they should do? No, they shouldn't. If British can exit the European Union without a single shot fought, without a single barrel of gun exploded, without a single barrel of gun exploded, why can the people of Southern Cameroon exit La République without a single gun? At least 3,000 homes has been burnt in Southern Cameroon. 3,000 homes has been burnt in Southern Cameroon. Women burnt in their home. Women burnt in the hospital. Women burned, children burned alive. Why? Why must this has to happen? Why must this has to happen? Why must the people of Southern Cameroon must live with La Republic? Why must they? That is the million question that we are asking international community. Why must they have to live with La Republic? Can they not live alone? Why? 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 They have lived alone. They have, during the Enugu House of Assembly in Nigeria, they have governed themselves. Why can they not stand alone? It's because La Republic can live alone. That is why they must be part of Southern Cameroon. Why? Why? The most important thing is that even though the U.S. commander in Africa will even come and explain that they spoke with La Republic President Paul Biya, someone that is mentally incoherent, someone that is suffering from psychosis, someone that is living on morphine 24 hours. That is why he's confused all the time. He can't recall where his office was, even the names of the children, even the wife. And that is why the wife is just like a robot that guided him wherever he can go. Why? But United States General will meet this guy suffering from psychosis and can't even identify that this man is not someone to talk to. And that they have to do something about it. But they claim that they had a fruitful conversation with Paul Biya. What a nightmare. Can United States General be saying that they have a fruitful discussion with someone that is mentally incoherent? I mean, it's absurd. Absolutely. It's absurd. Let's listen to
of how it got to the point where we are today. In October of 2017, when it came kind of to a head, the Anglophone states said we want to actually form our own state, the Ambazonian state. There have been issues.
Of course, that is what they want. The general just state exactly that is what the people want. They want to stay alone. They do not need La Republic. That is what they want. And that is a fact. And there is nothing that can change that perception. Let La Republic go and let the people of Southern Cameroon go. They can manage themselves. They can survive. They have survived. If they can survive in the 60s, then they should be able to survive at this moment. And if they can, we will going to support them if the world community turn a blind eye as they have. Yes. Let them go. Let them go. And let La Republic leave our people alone. Let them stay. We don't need La Republic in any circumstances. Let La Republic go. Let them leave our people alone. There's nothing that I can express more than this. Let La Republic go and our people can survive. Let's listen to the general.
Issues there with atrocities, issues with allegations of law of war issues, and this is some.
Of course, he's speaking about allegations that may have caused by some of Amba people. Of course, those are people that are fighting to defend their nation. They are not well trained. They are not well trained. They just inherited a period where they choose their self-determination. They are not well trained. They don't know. Some of them are not even educated. But they are using to determine and to sustain their sovereignty. They are not experienced in government. But you will expect this more like this, a disciplined army that is trained by the United States and including the Israelis. They are burning murders alive in their home. They are killing young murder, children. And that is a disciplined army that has been trained by the most advanced nations on this planet. I don't think that is what the United States has done. The United States has fought series of war. I have never in history learned that United States military burned a home with children, with grandmother. I have never seen or heard or read in history that the United States disciplined army will burn a woman alive. Whereas the Ambazonian, they have never been trained, they have never had that opportunity that La Republic has got. So they don't know what is a standard form of engagement. They don't. But however, they're doing what they can because they want to free themselves from the enslavement of La Republic. Let's listen to the general.
And that I think brings all this to a head. Over the last several months or so, the State Department has put on hold
So you listen to the U.S. general. Okay, let this person advise the U.S. general about the Southern Cameroon territory. Listen, take a listen.
There is a witness statement. They go on trucks. We have video after video of soldiers. There is a witness statement I'll be reading from, so if folks want to have that, you can have access later. It's also here.
I'm sure this guy is a UNESCO representative. This is a UNESCO representative.
Historical
Listen.
legal agencies and none other than French President Emmanuel Macron have equally and recently asserted colonialism was and is a crime against humanity. As such, United Nations protocols empower all peoples and parties to act with the, quote, responsibility to prevent genocide and the, quote, responsibility to protect. It is not so useful in the case of the Cameroons or Ambazonia to spend time debating who is most at fault. Is it the government in Yaoundé or the man Paul Biya, who has been president since I was 19 years old, the longest ruling leader in the world? Is it the original French colonists who, along with their British counterparts, set up this competitive, divided we fall scramble way back when? Is it the UN in failing to oversee the promises made decades ago? Perhaps it's the children of Ambazonia who, frustrated at increasing police and military violence and little to show for decades of completely nonviolent and unarmed actions against their colonial predicament, pick up some stones to defend themselves just over the past year. There is enough guilt to go around, and we say again, it is not so useful to spend time debating who is most at fault. The UN mandated responsibility to protect and the responsibility to prevent genocide, equally, especially in cases of contemporary, ongoing colonialism, is a responsibility of all of us. It is certainly the responsibility of the United Nations member states, with an emphasis on those who currently make up the Human Rights Council, which soon meets in Geneva. But it is also the responsibility of non-governmental organizations, organizations like the International Peace Research Association, with consultative status with ECOSOC. And yes, it's the responsibility of media as well, to remember that even conflicts which appear small in places which are not easily found on maps require our urgent attention.
I'm sure that piece of information should advise the U.S. general that the people of Southern Cameroon deserve their own sovereignty to be respected. Of course, they may have some instances that they may use some abnormal behavior. Of course, those are not well trained. They felt the pain which the UNESCO representatives just spoken about using stone to defend their land. Of course, the military of La Republic that were trained by the United States and Israel, unfortunately, one will expect a certain dignity and discipline within them, but unfortunately, that discipline is no longer applicable. When a grandmother burnt alive in her home, in a retirement home, that may not worth $100, and that is what she can afford for the entire of her life, to build that small hut that she can reside there and die her natural death. But unfortunately, the invasion of La Republic has forced her quick departure, and she was burnt alive. Why were those with a dead gun not able to defend them and fight whatever they can? In the process of doing so, they lost their life. This video is showing it could be a potential some of the Chadian military that may, which I haven't verified what are the accuracy of that, but it could be a potential that some Chadian military are now heading into Southern Cameroon to reinforce La Republic, because I showed a video which La Republic military confirmed, claimed that is actually there is some Chadian in Southern Cameroon fought alongside them to sustain the people of Southern Cameroon. Of course, the Western society, Great Britain, that brought us into this mess, hasn't responded. France is so happy because France president personally traveled to Chad and asked for a triumphant military buffer against the people of Southern Cameroon. Even traveled to Nigeria and asked the Nigerian president, Buhari, they should form a buffer system. La Republic on the east, Chad on the north, and on the west, Nigeria, so that they can sing the people of Southern Cameroon. They are now resistant. They're fighting for their life, for their survival. How much can the world do? Of course, they ignore. It's none of their business. So long as they become an African, who cares? And this is what probably the Chadian troops, some may be heading into Southern Cameroon. Let's watch. You can see, it's La Republic police person communicate. We don't know whether they have actually in Southern Cameroon territory, because I haven't verified that accuracy of that information. But you listen, the military of La Republic claim that Chadians are in Southern Cameroon. Yes, you can watch. Yes. So it could be potential Chadians are in Southern Cameroon. The people have going through nightmare, circumcision, invasion, murdering, slaughtering.
There's tremendous interest within all branches of the U.S. government towards this crisis. The United States is greatly concerned with what's going on in Cameroon. I mean, we consider Cameroon a long-term...
The problem is not the great concern. The problem is doing something. Concern doesn't solve problems. It's doing something, taking action. Action, action, action. That's what they should have been done. Speeches doesn't make solution. It's about action. When it comes to the dictatorship,
rocket forward in progress and prosperity and stability. So because of that, the United States is...
You can watch. Those are Southern Cameroon burnt alive. They become barbecue that is being done, carried on, perpetrated by the military of La Republic du Cameroon. How many more do I have to show? How many more? How many more? Tell me, how many more do I have to show? This guy, that is the person, that is the corporate, that is carrying on the mouth, the slaughtering. That's the guy. That is him. 86 years old, mentally deranged. Absolutely. This is the guy that is causing havoc in our Southern Cameroon territory. That's the guy. Mentally deranged, incapacitated. He's being drilled like a robot by the wife. In fact, currently, the wife is the president, if you don't agree with me. He's trying to sit wherever he is. And when he comes to foreign personalities, she makes sure that she encircles and do everything to protect so that no one is aware. She responds to most of the questions as though because she is currently the president of La Republique. Well, I want to take a moment to thank all of you. But I want to assure our brothers back home that your pain and suffering has been felt across this global hemisphere. We understand what you're going through. You are not going through this pain alone. We are behind you. And that we cannot, in any circumstances, undergo this for long. We know that we have been neglected by the international community. The people will expect help to come from them. We expect help to come, but unfortunately, we have been neglected. Maybe we have to use some cream so that we can reflect the normal general color, and that will prompt every actions. You know, the British government, the British Prime Minister, when it comes to the British Prime Minister debate about the issues affecting the British, you see the Parliament will be full and everyone will be in attendance. Everyone will show up. Some will be standing. But when it comes to the problem of colonialism, everyone is out of the seat. Everyone will disappear. And we are in this mess because the British government created this mess. Had it been our nation were voted in 1961 and recognized by the British, we would have been in a safe zone. We must have been advanced because we were more thinking about our self-productive nations. But unfortunately, they choose La Republique as to maintain us as though they are more matured than we. We have a self-government. We have an elected officials. We have 3 elected prime ministers. First with Anne Endele, second Jongu Foncha, third Ngumjua that was killed by Ahijo. How much democratic government can we demonstrate? La Republique hasn't in any circumstances demonstrated that skill. From one dictatorship, Amadou Ahijo for 25 years, to the current dictatorship for 36 years. How much can the world recognize? But our brothers and sisters, we are together. We know our mom has been burned alive. We know our relatives have been burned alive. We know our property has been burned alive. But we are together for the freedom, and that freedom must be our end goal, and that La Republique cannot manipulate. France cannot, but the people will determine the ultimate destination of the people of Southern Cameroon, now Ambazonia. Fellow brothers, we are at war. The war is serious, and our people are ready to face it. Take a moment, and I thank all of you for watching. This is Funto Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas, here in the United States. I wish you a wonderful the rest of your day.